Hi, I'm Jim. Welcome to the Unbound Performance Podcast, where we explore the world of sports and performance mindset training.
And I'm Caroline. Each week, we talk about the strategies, habits, and mental framework that help us to excel. Let's get into today's episode.
That's kind
Sorry,
of
what were you saying, Trevor?
almost about anything. Put
A little
some cheese
cheese.
on it. Yeah,
Right.
it's better.
Like when we're working with teams and you say like, do you think that's possible for you guys? And everyone's like so hesitant to be like, yeah. They're always like, maybe.
Yes.
Like, is that I think it's an individual question. It's also a group question. I think it's even greater at like a school level. Like, what I think there are a lot of facets of what create that lack of confidence or lack of belief. These things can happen for you, but even before that, like you have control over it.
I think people, like if you ask them in general, can you get better at the mental thing? And they'll say yes in general. I think often though people think like this is the way I am. I don't see any way
Or
to,
they think there's like small changes they can make, but that aren't
yeah.
going to make some huge impact on
Right.
their outcomes.
And I still think like some of it, like if there are struggles, you have demands placed on you, all your dreams aren't coming true daily. No kidding. Like
Which is normal.
and it's what you sign up for. Like if you want to go play a competitive sport on a team, okay, there might be people better than you. You might have to really work hard to get any playing time.
How about that?
Your coaches may apply pressure. Um, your opponents will definitely apply pressure.
And you want them to. Like, you don't want it. I mean, I don't know. I know you and I talk about this a lot, that it wouldn't be fun if it was just a breeze all the time. But I think a lot of people want it to be a breeze. But I also think that if you really sat down and talked them through what that would mean, it would suck every bit of fun and enjoyment out of that activity.
Well, that is like the reason they want it to be a breeze is because then it's not a threat to their identity and sense of worth.
Right.
But I was listening to a podcast with this Australian sports psychologist, Jonah Oliver. I always write down notes, so I was just scrolling and I saw I wrote this down, and as a quote I tried to use the other night and botched it. I had to go look it up, but talking about enjoyment is the intersection of challenge and competence, and it goes right to the if there's no challenge, then okay, or if the challenge is so overwhelming that your competence can't hope to compensate. Um, Either way, it's not going to be enjoyable.
No.
But the fact that it is demanding and difficult, that should be what we're signing up for,
right?
And it should be what we want.
In my mind, like in sports where it is a win-lose situation, like that, to me that should be very obvious. If it doesn't matter of like challenging one another where one person's going to win and one person's going to lose, it's a given that there should be challenge you experience. And a lot of the stuff we talk about is, you can't eliminate the stressors, but you can learn how to deal with them better. And I think a lot of people just want to eliminate them. And the reality of that is just non-existent.
Yeah, and I don't. I think they wish secretly they could
Deal with it better.
handle it better.
Sure.
Now, I think sometimes maybe parents don't want to watch struggle take place. I don't know. We've talked a lot about that real early in our podcast history, but we as a culture, like across the board, need to do a better job of increasing capacity for handling pressure, stress, adversity, whatever, struggle. And I think a lot of it has to do with how do you see yourself in this? What are your expectations for this, whatever, endeavor? And what kind of person do you want to be when you come out the other side? So, I don't know, that goes back to why you're doing this in the first place. Whether you're a coach or a player. I mean, I remember as a coach before all these big games, I was a nervous wreck. a lot of that had to do with kind of wrong thinking on my part. That doesn't mean that if you're a nervous wreck before a big game that you're thinking wrong. You may
Sure.
be thinking exactly right. Like if I'm going to walk out and play in the Super Bowl,
It matters.
there's a
So I'm
good
gonna have
chance I'm
feelings.
going to be pretty
Yeah.
nervous before, and then trying to tell someone, it's all right, you got this.
Yeah.
Like,
No. No.
nothing to be nervous about.
Yeah.
Well, that's insane.
Right.
Like, what do you mean there's nothing to be nervous about? Like, there's zillions of people
Well,
watching all over
and
the
I
world.
don't think nervous. I think people associate nerves sometimes with some sort of weakness,
Right.
and I don't believe anyone, with the exception of probably a very few percentage of people, like don't experience nerves even when they feel confident that it's gonna go well or that they're as prepared as they possibly can be. Nerves are just your body's way of preparing to respond to whatever's coming next, in my mind, and so the idea that being nervous is a weakness. Now, if your nervousness includes like, oh God, I'm gonna screw this up. This is gonna be terrible. Like, what? And if your nerves, I think, only include like the what if all the bad things go wrong. Well, that's a different type. But I think that nervous, like anticipation type feeling is normal in any pressure scenario.
Well, and getting your body ready to
Yeah,
do its job.
it's an undecided outcome. So you're gonna have some sort of anticipation of what's gonna happen next.
And I know one kind of twist on it is rather than view it as nerves and you're going to gag and puke all over the place, instead just realize like it's excitement. You can label
Yeah.
it as being excited. Um, and it's a physiological response to get you ready for what's coming. But not expecting yourself to be human and having a normal human reaction to that kind of looming event is
Completely irrational.
yeah, and it's if it's something you care a lot about, well, yeah, you're going to get anxious and
Yeah.
butterflies, and I don't like the idea that it gets viewed as a weakness at all. I think that's really counterproductive, and then the whole idea of suggesting to people that, well, you just calm down,
I was just,
like
I was just
you
thinking
know,
like when I'm feeling some way about something and someone's like just relax, just go read a book or go like just trying to tell me to not feel what I'm feeling for whatever's coming up next is so counterproductive. Because like you said, it's a physiological response to whatever's happening. And if you don't allow yourself that process, I think you're probably worse off than if you just went through it. So I think a lot of people who can't relate to why you're feeling what you're feeling or who view it as a weakness want you to like think that that needs to be eliminated from this process.
well,
And
and
no
you,
success there.
if athletes are brave enough to voice their anxiety or nerves, and for you to then turn around and like completely invalidate
Right.
their perfectly normal human
Right.
feelings and thoughts on this is really unhelpful. Like, there's no way, like, whatever, if you're driving Joey to his first ever Little League game and he says he's nervous, and all you do is well meaning, but you
Right.
say, "Oh no, you got it. You're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
it's
Nothing
gonna
to
be
be
great.
nervous about.
It's gonna be great.
You don't
Yeah.
need to be nervous." Definitely trying to help,
100%.
but that the message that kid gets is, I shouldn't
I
be,
shouldn't be feeling this.
and there's something maybe wrong
Wrong.
with me, or I'm weak, or whatever, and that does not give them any weapons at all to deal with. But that's mostly from us not wanting
Them to be.
them to feel like that.
Yeah.
And which is totally understandable. But you're better off. Maybe you say, "Yeah, I was nervous too
Yeah.
before I
I totally get it.
and heck, I was nervous last week at work or whatever."
Yeah.
Where then they feel like they're just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, and
as
suddenly that
human
nerve
as-
then dissipates a little bit. I think when
Right.
it feels less big
weird.
and isolated and weird,
Yep.
when someone says, especially like a grown up, or I think the sort of rather than saying like, yeah, the first time I played I was nervous too, but I think like an adult or a parent saying I was nervous at work last week is almost an even better way to level the playing field, because not only is, yeah, I get it, I feel that too. And I'm a grown up and I still feel that in a different setting that's not in Little League Baseball or whatever it is. And just acknowledging, yeah, I get why you're nervous. This is a big thing you're doing. There's a lot of unknowns. This is new for you, but, and then all the reasons why, like, you're prepared otherwise, but doesn't mean don't feel those feelings, but also feel them and then remember and then trust yourself and trust your instinct and trust your training
Well,
for the
then,
outcome itself.
but that's two, and two, it's not like, Joey says how nervous he is before his first game, and okay, now we're going to do a series of deep breathing exercises where you're going to visualize yourself not being nervous or whatever,
Right.
maybe have a quick 10-minute
You really
meditation.
freak them out.
All that does is make it seem like he's got a huge problem
That
that
needs
needs
to
to
be
be
fixed.
dealt with. And instead, if you humanize it, that does take a lot of the edge off it. And then once they're kind of in it, and you maybe say, hey, look, guess what? Like, everybody else is going out there and playing this for the first time. They're all nervous too.
Yeah.
And I was nervous before mine. I still get nervous, and it's okay.
I think of when I think about my daughter remembers everything I tell her, but when I think about the things that she'll bring up sometimes, and I'm like, when did I tell you that? It's little things where I've told her about myself when I was your age and I had to do this, and she remembers those little stories that I think give her confidence. Like she'll say, "Well, remember that time you told me that you had to read at church and you messed up?" And because my daughter reads at mass weekly at school, and I thought she was gonna totally freak out the first time she did it because as a toddler she couldn't even sing the jingle bells at the Christmas performance at daycare. But having some of those conversations of acknowledging like it's understandable that you feel this way, and I've shared some of those stories, she then sometimes reminds me of the things that I told her that I experienced, and then it sort of. So I think they really do latch on to that. Those not just here's why it's normal, but someone that they know and trust and have seen also be successful. Maybe they look up to, like having those types of relatable scenarios. I think goes such a long way in giving that confidence boost
Right. And I
that they're
think
not alone and weird.
so. We start this unhelpful advice giving really
Really
early.
early.
And then that's the same advice they get all through their competitive career.
Yeah.
And, they're getting ready to play in a state championship match or a regional qualifier or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good.
I always loved when it was like fifth set and it's like 13-13. Everyone's like, scores back at 0. It's game to 2. Whoever gets 2 first wins. I'm like, no, literally no.
Right.
Like I understand the math comparison on that one, but like actually no, when you've been playing 4, almost now 5 sets, to me trying to just wipe the slate clean and be like, it's fine. I'm just playing back from 0. It's like, no, the score is 13-13 in the fifth set, and these next 2 points or however many are huge.
I know a lot of people give it's just another game.
Yeah, no.
Just pretend like you've done this in practice a million times. Okay, true. I haven't done it in practice with 5,000 people watching.
Right.
Win, keep playing. Lose, go home.
Yeah.
Or, whatever even greater environmental stressors are in play. So telling someone that everything surrounds this gigantic event is really nothing. It's like a figment of their imagination or whatever.
Right.
I don't think that's very helpful
Makes
either.
them feel weird.
And all that does is kind of tell them they're not ready for the event. Instead of, but that's even from a whole coaching standpoint. There's okay, I know we had the state championship match this week. We're going to learn a whole new offense. I don't think that's a good approach. Then you're just sending the message, whatever we've been doing isn't good enough.
Yep.
And we got to do something extra special in order to pull this out. So we send sometimes just signals and messages that we don't really want to send. I don't think they're very helpful. So instead, I think there's some, like for the big game or whatever, however you want to describe whatever the event is, there is some ability to draw on prior successes.
Yeah.
And seeing other people do it and, maybe watch the team that played in the semifinals before your
Yeah.
semifinal. Look, they did it too, and we can do it. But trying to completely invalidate everything they're thinking and feeling and telling them it's really nothing, it's no big deal, and this is just another game, it's like any other game, it's just like preseason, like practice. I think no athletes are buying that.
Yeah.
Like, they just walk away and they'll try to trust you, but they're scratching their head like, what?
Yeah.
Um,
Not a chance.
and some people, they have these reactions before every game. Like, I remember talking to one team. I talked about Bill Russell, and Bill Russell is one of the most winning basketball players, athletes ever. Like, in 3 seasons in college, he won 2 national championships. That's back when freshmen were ineligible. Then he wins an Olympic gold medal. And then playing for the Celtics, he wins 11 championships in 13 years. So in 17 seasons, he wins 14 titles. And NBA Finals MVP awards named after him. And he would throw up pretty much before every game. And I can still, like, one team we just talked to about it, like when I said that, their eyes got, I see like kids' eyes get really big. And all these people, they're not superhuman.
No.
Like, Michael Jordan is not an android. Like, he has to deal with this stuff just like anyone else. And I just don't think we'd help anybody by trying to paint what they're feeling and thinking as no big deal. I don't think that helps them deal with it at all.
No.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unbound Performance Podcast.
Your support helps us continue to build our community. If you're enjoying this content, please like, subscribe, and share.